I've never told you all of the reasons why second citizenship is so important to me. I'm going to do that today, and I'm going to tell you why it's so important, especially as many of the options that have been available may no longer be in the future. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson. This is Nomad Capitalist, where we help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally go where you're treated best. And I want to talk to you today about all the reasons why, for me, citizenship by investment is so important. I'm going to share the strategic reasons. We've been talking about many of these for years, but I'm going to elaborate on some of those. But I'm also going to open up for the first time ever on some of the personal reasons and share with you why I think that being diversified is so important. And so I think the big reason right now, especially in this climate, is being diversified. Whether you want to be a citizen of a big country like the US or not, I made the choice not to be. But whether you want to be or not, I think you want to have a portfolio of citizenships and of residences that allow you to go where you're treated best, as we say. You look at countries like the US, these are the opposite of agnostic. They tax you no matter where you live, and they certainly tax you if you live there. They have regulations. There's potential drama being a citizen of the country if you travel. They may subject you to certain limitations. We've seen that in Australia, in Canada, in the US, in Germany, in Austria, and other countries in the last couple of years. These are countries that want to rule you. You look at having an agnostic country in your portfolio. You look at the Caribbean citizenship by investment. Look at some of the citizenships you can get through descent, for example. We're just doing more of those for people as we speak. And citizenship by descent, by the way, isn't just in Europe. It could be in the Caribbean, could be in Latin America. We're doing a couple of those right now as well. Having a country that's agnostic, they don't want to bother you. They're at peace. They're not in wars. They're not ticking people off. That's a beneficial thing. Being able to live in different parts of the world is a beneficial thing. In a time of geopolitical uncertainty, the idea that you can get into Asia, which is more likely to be a residence permit than a passport, get into parts of Europe, okay, Western Europe, parts of Eastern Europe, Latin America. All these areas have advantages. If you can get a citizenship in Latin America or the Caribbean or South America, whether you're going to get it in 6 months through a citizenship by investment program or whether you're going to work to it through a naturalization process or a permanent residence program like that in Colombia. Either way, having a place where you can go, Latin America certainly is a bit of a dramatic place. It makes it fun in some regards. There's plenty of places you can live that are safe. But you're generally away from a lot of the instability in the world. You have the ability to take care of yourself. You have great agricultural opportunities. You have great people. And so, having a citizenship in that part of the world where people are a bit more open, people are welcoming, you have options to take care of yourself, that's very valuable. The ability to travel is important. The ability to not be stuck is important, and we've seen that in the last couple of years as travel has at times ground to a halt. I recently took a trip between 3 countries where I either had a residence permit or citizenship in each one of them. And here's how that feels differently. And I'm someone who's traveled for years, especially in this environment, but really in any environment. You know what? If something happens and I get stuck, whether it's a plane delay or something chaotic happens, hey, I'm at home here. I have the ability to get in. I'm not going to be waiting in a long line. I'm not going to be wondering whether I can get in. I'm not going to be wondering if my passport is good enough or if my country started a fight with this place. I have access. And it's a different feeling. I can tell you I have felt more and more comfortable as someone who likes to live in different parts of the world, as someone who believes that it's beneficial to have homes in different parts of the world to protect yourself. Not only for lifestyle reasons, that I like getting a bite of each different culture, but again, when uncertainty breaks out in one part of the world, you can go to the other, and you can benefit, you can take your family. By the way, with what's happening right now in Ukraine, I opened up my home in Istanbul to folks to come and spend time. And I think that having homes around the world is a benefit that you can use them for your business, use them for your family, use them to help people when needed. And so, for me, having diversification, making sure I'm never stuck, being able to go to different parts of the world, being able to travel is very important for having passports. Residence helps, but passports at the highest level. Passports offer the highest level of certainty. I just, again, happen to enjoy living in different parts of the world. and I know that I have a connection to a place. I know that I'm going to have the ability to get in no matter whether it's a pandemic, no matter what's happening in the world. The passport gives you certainty. On top of that, different passports give you travel privileges. Again, it's not just visa-free travel, where can you go, but it's the ability to go and live in that country. Certain countries, we talked about El Salvador's passport recently, they are part of what's called Central America 4, CA4. You have a certain level of access to 3 other countries in that region. Caribbean citizenships, the ones that are available by investment, are part of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. They're also part of CARICOM. You have access to go to other countries. Obviously, the European Union is a collection of countries. In Southeast Asia, ASEAN, not so much residence and citizenship, but certainly there is enhanced travel benefits. In South America, Mercosur, some extra benefits. Certain passports may allow you to travel with an ID card, may allow you to travel for a longer period of time, may allow you to stay for as long as you want in another country. Even countries that aren't in unions together sometimes allow neighboring countries to have unlimited stay. And so you can essentially live there, whether it's tax benefits. Maybe a country has great tax benefits. If you're a citizen of Dominica and you can go and live in St. Kitts and Nevis, that offers tax benefits that you wouldn't get living in Dominica, right? And so there's situations like that around the world. Certain residences and passports give you extra visa-free travel. And certainly having different passports means that, especially if you're not going to have a Western passport, which I think now obviously Americans have had an issue with some of the drama, some of the taxes, some of the regulations that come with being a U.S. citizen. I think you'll see more Western countries do that. And I think you should be planning potentially for a time when you may not be able to have a Western citizenship. Even if you keep it, and most people do want to keep it, but plan for, okay, what if I remained a citizen of Canada, but they refused to renew my passport for some reason? How would I get around? Well, if you had a Caribbean passport, if you had a European passport, if you had an Eastern European passport, if you had a South American passport, if you had a couple of those from that list together, you would have a pretty good travel pattern. You'd be able to go to most places. Okay, so putting a couple of different passports together that each offer different things. I've talked for years about how Turkey's citizenship gives you visa-free travel. You'd have a hard time finding with most other passports that are available in the commercial marketplace. Now, if you have citizenship by descent, if you're keeping a TRA passport, that may be easier. But I mean, Turkey plus something else, is very interesting for some folks who want to travel. And I think traveling for business, traveling for pleasure, traveling to explore opportunities is very interesting. So those are all the strategic reasons that I think having multiple passports makes sense. And with all the chaos in the world, not just this year, not just in the last couple of years, but just in the world in general, having options, having places to go, having certainty is important. To me, certainty is so underrated. Let me talk about the personal side. I grew up in the U.S. I never felt that the U.S. was my place. Both as a child, I was not particularly patriotic. I pushed back against a lot of what the U.S. did. I've got people now who are saying, oh, you're talking about Ukraine. What were you talking about? Maybe I was talking about that 20 years ago. I never fell in lockstep with the U.S. My wife doesn't entirely believe that she, feels like she's from where she's from. There are plenty of people out there who just don't feel like they fit in. The culture is changing on them. And so for people like myself, the idea of citizenship was to have an identity. There are places where I go in the world where I get along with people much better than I would in the U.S. Now, cultures are different, and I may not entirely fit into their culture in some cases, but I have friends who represent my values. They represent, in my opinion, great friendships. And having a citizenship to me is an identity. One of the things that I suggest people, check your family tree. Are you entitled to citizenship by descent? If you are, get that. Right? Because I think that there's an identity, there's a wholesome purpose in saying, hey, my grandmother was Irish and I'm going to reclaim that and keep it in the family. That's been something that I've had difficulty doing through parts of my family tree. I would love nothing more to have a place that was part of my ancestry in my passport portfolio to be proud of. And so, one of the reasons why I've talked about having multiple second passports recently is I think for some people, this is very emotional. Maybe they like their country, maybe you like where you're from, maybe you don't have a problem with the U.S., maybe you get along with people there. But the idea of saying, hey, the fastest path to get a backup plan may be the Caribbean, citizenship by investment. But then if you could go through and claim that Italian citizenship. Claim, as we're helping someone right now, their Guyanese citizenship. Claim whatever, we helped someone a while back with an Asian citizenship. Through your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, to me, there's a point of pride in that. If you can't do that, I believe you should be able to have the identity that you want. I think that one of the challenges I see, and this has come on the radar recently with everything that's happening in Russia, where Russians are being thrown out of everything, is what if you don't agree with what's happening in Russia? What if you don't agree with the government in Russia or Belarus? You can live somewhere else, right? And eventually you can get another citizenship, but you're always going to be listed as born in Russia, born in Belarus. For me, I will always be listed as born in the United States. And it's very sad for me, honestly, that that can be used against you. Born in Iran, it's another one. People use it against you. People will tell me, oh, but you're always an American. And then when I go to apply for a certain something, or when I talk about, hey, maybe I want to get this residence permit, and they say, oh, you need to pass an English test. Now, I'm a citizen of St. Lucia, so generally I can get by without taking an English test as a St. Lucian. But I'm like, I lived in the United States for 27 years. I mean, in a sense, I am American. They're like, no, you're not. You're not American. Look, it says right here, you're this. And then when I don't want to be American, they're like, well, you must support the U.S. foreign policy. You must support this. You must be that. Americans are dumb. Americans are this. I want to have an identity that suits me. And, if people talk to me about, where you're from, I'll either have, depending on who it is, a glib answer. If they're a smart person, I'll explain it very simply. I'm from the United States. It didn't have my heart. Now I've found my home somewhere else. Or I'll simply just say, I don't talk about it. It's not your business. Sorry. Because I want to be able to have the identity that I want, and I don't want it to be from the U.S. If you want to have the U.S. as your identity, I'm not against you. We're all allowed to have a different opinion. There's no need to shame me for wanting to have a different identity. It didn't work for me as a place. And on top of that, the fact that, the U.S. says, hey, you don't want to live here? That's great. Still pay us. We're going to regulate you. We're going to make your life difficult. It's rubbing salt in the wound. I think a lot of Americans renounce their citizenship. It's not over taxes. It's because taxes are the insult to the injury that they've already incurred. And it's like a bully who then, gaslights you. Why don't you like it when I hurt you? And so I don't want that kind of country to be my identity. I don't want the stuff that the U.S. does to be my identity. We talk to obviously a lot of Americans here on this channel, but for me, I would rather be a citizen of places where I feel like I have earned my way in. Some of the most patriotic Americans are the ones who have naturalized, and one of the hardest groups that I've ever seen to give up citizenship are people who were naturalized themselves or people whose parents naturalized, immigrants. It is almost impossible for them. And so if I ever have an immigrant couple and one of them wants to get out of the U.S. system, I say, let me guess, it's the person who's, sixth generation born in the U.S., not the person who's second generation. And so for me, if you get citizenship somewhere else, now, is St. Lucia going to be your country? St. Lucia may be a flag of convenience. But I think if you're going to get multiple second passports, which I do believe is the trend now, find one that you're proud of. Find one that you say, I love it. That could be, I had some folks recently who said, we love Turkey. We fit in there. We never fit in the U.S. We love Turkey. We're getting Turkish citizenship, not even for diversification. We're getting it because we want to live there. We want to secure our access to living there, and we love it. We love the people, the food, the culture. It's all great. For someone else, it may be somewhere else. And so, having an identity is important in this world. You're never, as a nomad capitalist, going to convince everybody that you are like them. People have a hard time understanding why do you have multiple passports? Where do you live? Even when I've been to the bank in Singapore and I say, oh, I'm not a U.S. citizen anymore. They say, oh, you live in Malaysia. Are you a Malaysian citizen now? I said, no one becomes a citizen of Malaysia. You would think people would know that, but people don't. You have to learn to live with that. But yet you get to craft the identity that you want for yourself as a global citizen. But for people who want that sense of belonging, something in all fairness I probably was missing in the U.S. I never felt the sense of belonging. And as a result, I never felt any kind of patriotism. Now, perhaps if you took me to, here's a Western country I could have been born in that I do like a lot, I love the people, it was Ireland. Maybe if I would have been born in Ireland, I would have been patriotic for Ireland and we wouldn't be here. But the lessons that I've learned have taught me that, diversification as a business person, as an investor, as a high net worth individual, those are important. But the sense of belonging, the sense of pride, the sense of identity, the sense of certainty that you have a place where you can go, where it's not your home country, but you're accepted, that for me is why I have passports. I've built one of the biggest passport portfolios out there that probably most people don't need that much diversification. It's been strategic. It gives me the option to live and do business in places, but it also gives me the ability to feel at home and to bond with those cultures if I want. And in some cases, I have. And so I think that that is an untold emotional aspect of having different citizenship. It speaks to the strategic goals of having more than one extra one. And I think it will really help you, if you have a sense of pride and you want to have that in your life, customize yourself to the global lifestyle we talk about. Don't stop now. We've got well over 1,000 more videos here on YouTube for you to watch and learn how to go where you're treated best. And if you want to work with Nomad Capitalists personally, go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply, learn about our unique, tried and true process, garnered over years of experience, and learn how you can become our client.